During a Memorial Day weekend known as the Rolling Thunder, an injured Marine stands in the middle of the street and holds a salute for 3 hours. In the middle of this honoring act, bikers suddenly appear and do the unthinkable. Under the scorching sun, veteran Sergeant Tim Chambers stood in the middle of the busy street. His uniform was decorated with medals and patches, signifying his years of service and achievements. He stood there for 15 minutes, his arm raised in salute, a gesture of respect to his fallen comrades whose names were being etched into the new war memorial before him. His determination caught the attention of everyone who witnessed that special moment, especially because it looked like he had no intention of ever leaving the spot, let alone lowering his arm. For 3 hours, his boots remained planted, his gaze fixed on the horizon, his salute unbroken. The pain from his injury, a souvenir from the last battlefield, gnawed at him, but his resolve was ironclad. His hand remained raised, holding a salute that looked as if his hand had frozen in time. He remained focused, and no distraction made him turn his back. His action shocked the onlookers, and as the hours stretched, word about a veteran Marine paying respects to his fallen comrades and those who went missing while serving the country spread all over the world. People stopped whatever they were doing to witness that moment. Some lined up along the roads with their flags in their hands, while others chose to stay at a distance and watch as others paid their tributes. As his hand remained saluted, Tim's mind raced to a memory that gave him the strength to keep his hand raised despite every need to lower it. Years had passed since Tim lost his brother on a battlefield, and that particular day reminded him of the exact date that Mark sacrificed himself to save his life. Mark was Tim's identical twin brother. They were the kind of twins who did everything together. Separating them had been a problem ever since they were children. They had the same interests and passions, and that's how they both joined the Marines. In the military, they worked together and always protected each other whenever duty called. They found themselves fighting side by side. The plan was to serve their country till they grew old together, but fate had different plans. Memories of the last day he saw his brother alive ran through his mind as he stood in the middle of the street. They had been sent to a war zone to fight among their fellow soldiers, protecting their country. Explosions and gunfire could be heard from a distance as they fought. Before they could receive commands from their leaders, they were ambushed by some spies who had been operating in the area unknowingly for a long time. Tim and Mark's unit encountered heavy enemy fire, but with courage, they managed to fight back their enemies. The spies had multiple snipers hiding at vantage points, and as soon as they received command, they started firing bullets, killing 2 Marine soldiers on the spot. It was a very brutal war. In the middle of the chaos and confusion, Tim was hit by a sniper bullet in the leg, and he was badly wounded. As he tried to get to a safe place, Mark spotted him, and without hesitation he went to save him. Ducking the flying bullets, Mark pulled his fallen brother to safety while shielding him from the enemy bullets. What he did was irrational, and it exposed him to one of the spy snipers who shot him in the head. Mark collapsed onto Tim and passed on the spot, trying to save his brother's life. Tim was left yelling for him to wake up until the other soldiers came to remove his body from on top of him. Tim's mouth twitched at the memory. He closed his eyes for a moment, trying to keep the tears at bay. The death of his twin brother was an endless source of pain and trauma. Mark losing his life, trying to save his own, was a memory that lived in his mind rent-free and hurt even more than his injured leg. But years had passed, and Tim had finally made peace with the fact that his brother died a hero. It hadn't been easy for him, but he was at a place where he didn't blame himself anymore. He had sacrificed himself trying to save him, and he was grateful. Although he could never bring him back, Tim comforted himself with the fact that his brother's legacy would live forever in the hearts of those who knew him. 2 hours had already passed, and Tim was still paying tribute to the fallen soldiers. His arm was aching and weary, but despite all that, he held his salute firm. This was more than just a salute. It was a promise he kept of never forgetting the sacrifice of those who lost their lives while serving their country, including his brother Mark. The midday sun was unfriendly, and the scorching rays made every minute feel like an eternity for Tim. As sweat dripped down his chin, his uniform clung to his skin, making him uncomfortable, but that could not stop him from paying respect to his fellow soldiers. The heat was so intense that those watching from the sides had to use umbrellas as shelter. His throat became dry, but he did not stop raising a salute. His injured leg hurt terribly. He wasn't used to standing for such extended periods of time. But even if all the muscles in his leg throbbed painfully, the Marine ignored them without as much as a flinch. His pain and discomfort were nothing compared to the sacrifice that his fellow men and women had made so he could live. As more hours passed, Tim's salute became a reflection of the endurance that all the veterans had adopted during their service time. The gesture honored his brother and all the veterans in the world who deserved it. Who is he saluting? Is he a veteran all this time? I can't believe it. People couldn't stop whispering in the gathering as they witnessed the lone veteran soldier pay his tributes. Those whispers were a reminder that he was not alone. He had so many souls surrounding him with the same objective as his. Many of them understood and recognized the meaning of his gesture. Some paid their tributes in silence as they stood and watched from a distance. 3 hours had passed, and Tim was still frozen under the unbearable heat. A fraction of the crowd started pulling away when a distant rumble broke the silence. It grew louder, a crescendo that echoed Tim's pounding heart. Over the hill, a column of bikers appeared, their leather jackets adorned with patches and their faces etched with stories. Their roaring bikes demanded attention. As they got closer, everyone thought that they would disrupt the beautiful atmosphere created by Tim's tribute. Whispers and warnings spread among the people as the bikers approached. The crowd became uneasy, and some of them even started walking away. The bikers were believed to be rough gang members and troublemakers who always broke the law. Nothing good ever came out of them, and their presence at the scene instilled fear in the hearts of the onlookers. The biker reputation was not a good one. They had a bad history in books about their rebellious nature against the law. Their rugged appearance and dress code instilled fear in those who did not understand their culture. Their ways of life were misunderstood, and their love for freedom was interpreted as going against the laws. Their bikes were often so loud when driven in groups, disrupting the peace of those who loved a quiet environment. People in society combined these factors to create stereotypes about the bikers, not keeping in mind that not all bikers were gangsters. Many of them were actually good, law-abiding citizens who loved peace, and riding bikes was just a passion they had. Unknown to people, some were even veterans. As soon as the bikers stopped, they dismounted their bikes in silence and swaggered. Their black leather jackets and physical appearance were intimidating, but their eyes portrayed a different image, a reflection of their beautiful hearts that only needed to be understood by society. For a moment, the street was silent as people anticipated what they were about to do. They were expecting disruption, but what they did was unthinkable. One by one, the bikers formed a circle around Tim. Without a word, they stood at attention. Then, in a moment that would forever be etched in the annals of the town, they raised their arms in salute alongside Tim. For minutes that stretched into eternity, they stood together, a band of brothers and sisters, honoring the sacrifice of those who could no longer stand with them. It was a silent oath, a promise that those who had fallen would never be forgotten. Tim looked at them with appreciation in his eyes. He saw the same respect that led him to the street. It was a magical moment of respect that proved that the bikers had been misunderstood for a long time. Then one of the bikers walked out of the circle and approached Tim. He had tattooed arms and face, and despite his frightening appearance, peace, love, and respect were written all over his face, something only Tim could see. Facing the Marine and looking him directly in the eyes, he reached his hand in one of his pockets. "Is he pulling out a gun?" one lady asked from a distance. "I think it's a knife," another bystander replied. Everyone waited to see what he was fishing out from his pocket. They were all ready for anything. But as soon as they saw what the biker pulled out of his jacket, they were moved. Many of them blushed in embarrassment for even thinking that the biker was about to hurt the Marine. What the man was holding in his hands was nothing more than a bottle of drinking water. "Take a sip, brother. It's too hot out here," the biker said to Tim as he gently opened the bottle's seal for him. He then extended his hand and held the bottle for the Marine, letting him take a long sip to quench his thirst without forcing him to use his hands. This way, Tim wouldn't have to pause his salute. The cold water rejuvenated him and gave him the energy to keep going. With a nod, he expressed his gratitude to the biker without saying a word. The biker joined his fellow riders in the circle and continued to salute. Minutes passed, but Tim and the bikers stood in honor of the fallen veterans. This action reconstructed the bridge over the gap that society had created in their minds, separating themselves from the bikers. The gesture of support itself carried a lot of words within the silence. Those who witnessed this were left in awe. The inspiring sight was something they had never seen before. The fear of bikers was slowly fading away from their minds as they finally saw the good side of them. At this point, Tim was exhausted, and the scorching sun was making it hard for him to continue standing. But he was known to be a strong man who never gave up on his missions. Suddenly, another biker emerged from the circle of bikers. He carried no bottles of water or anything to quench Tim's thirst, but he had something thoughtful in his right hand, a well-made pocket fan. His intentions were so clear that even Tim couldn't help but shed a tear when he saw him approaching. The biker went and stood beside Tim, fanning him, creating a cool breeze of air and saving the Marine from the oppressive heat. This simple act of kindness enabled Tim to maintain his position as the relief from the heat was like removing a heavy log of wood from his shoulders. His heart was full of joy and gratitude, silently thanking the biker for his selfless act. When everyone thought it was over, another biker walked straight towards Tim and positioned himself behind him, raising an umbrella to shield him from the heat. With each passing minute, Tim wondered how he would thank the brave men standing next to him. For those watching, it was a silent reminder of the kindness and compassion in society. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of purple and gold, veteran Sergeant Tim Chambers lowered his arm from his long salute. He felt a sense of fulfillment in his heart after his tribute to his fallen brother and every fellow veteran. The bikers also lowered their salute, and one by one, they approached Tim, clasping his hand or offering a nod of respect. It was an act of solidarity, a testament to the unspoken bond between those who knew the true cost of freedom. Tim thanked the riders for standing in solidarity with him and waved to the crowd at the far end. Before the people dispersed, Tim had something to say. "Today I have witnessed the beautiful side of these bikers," he started. "They might have a bad name in the streets, but today they have won my heart. They have proven that we live in a society where it's easy to judge others depending on what others say about them. But today we should learn that the true character of a person is not displayed by how he looks, but by what lies in the depths of their heart." He turned his head to the bikers and nodded as a sign of gratitude. Everyone felt inspired by his words of wisdom. As the onlookers started leaving the scene, each one of them carried the memories of Tim and the bikers. They finally understood the importance of understanding and respecting each other, regardless of how others chose to live their lives. It was the simplest way of bridging the gap between the biker community and society at large. The bikers started their engines and departed from the scene, each one of them hoping that society would finally accept them. Tim, on the other hand, watched from a distance as the motorcycles rumbled and disappeared into the horizon. Though they might never meet again, for Tim, the moment they shared would live in his mind forever. He turned his head and made his way back home. His duty to his brother and all fallen soldiers had been fulfilled, and his heart was full. The unthinkable had happened, not in grand gestures or words, but in the silent understanding between warriors. As for the crowd, they left the scene learning never to judge a book by its cover without reading the story. What an inspiring story. Would you have guessed what the bikers were about to do to the injured Marine? Have you ever judged a book by its cover and regretted it? Share your stories in the comments below. Thank you for watching this video. See you in the next one.